Okay, so now we've got Samuel from Sein Analytics.
2008, I was a portfolio manager at a small hedge fund, and my role was to basically buy mortgage-backed, asset-backed securities, credit cards, autos, and try to build a book of business. I realized that the loan level data that I was getting wasn't right. I realized that a lot of times the cash flow engines we were using were not completely correct, and we started to spend a lot of money to build up this infrastructure. And before we were able to get there, the market crashed. So I went back and I started to think. This was the third time I had done this. Every time I did this, I had to build the infrastructure from the ground up. This is what it takes to build the systems. I mean, a lot of data providers, cash flow engines, and then I'm hiring 4 or 5 different IT guys, guys to plug in all the APIs, build the front end. And I came just to the realization, maybe we can do this a little bit simpler. So what we decided to do was to bring the data and the analytics together in a simple, user-friendly, cloud-based application. The reason why we decided to do that was some of these vendors, some of you may recognize the names, right? They're all built on legacy systems. We were using a combination of 4 of these guys. Average cost per year was $2.5 million. By moving into the cloud and getting the data directly from the trustees, we're able to cut that cost in half. The setup is completely zero configuration. You can go private, public, or hybrid with the way we've done it. And this is what the user interface sort of looks like. My partner, Ann Clark, is here. We just did a beta testing last week with some really big names, BlackRock and 2 other hedge funds. One consistent feedback that came back to us was we overdid the data part. We're showing too much data, and they wanted us to basically summarize it. That's not a bad problem to have. We've got the UI, and we can summarize this. But what they did like about it was the intuitiveness of the application and the power in terms of what we were doing. What's running all of this is basically a complete cloud infrastructure. So it's a multi-tenant cloud infrastructure, and for each client, we set up the base platform is about 12 computers running. They can scale that as they want. We're a common securitization platform. Investors, lenders, and advisory firms, we bring them all together in one unified solution. This is our go-to-market strategy, platform as a service. The feedback from the beta testing was actually quite positive, better than what we expected. One customer actually said, no one has ever attempted to do this. Another customer said to us, this is the next evolution of this market. This is the gratuitous chart showing huge profitability. You got to have this in the pitch deck. This is what we've been up to. We started in 2010. We rolled out the prototype and did a proof of concept all of 2012. We won a Google-sponsored tech prize. We were at Mass Challenge last year, and this year we are now one of the Value Stream incubator companies. This is our team. I'm Samuel Belu-John, and Clark is right there. We work with Zen Technologies quite a bit. That's part of our stack. And the former founder of E-Trade Bank, David Smiler, acts as our main advisor. Every time a user runs a scenario, we capture that and we save it for them so that they can come back in and look at the performance of the pool. And again, the feedback we got on this was basically, it's too much data. And then they can go in, look at the actual loan data that's generating the pool cash flows, and then they can actually go in and look at the different pools, look at cash flows coming in every month. Then to run a new transaction, they'll go back into the library. One of the things that came out of the user testing was we realized that we had collected so much data that someone approached us and said, would you mind helping us collapse a transaction? Funny thing was, we didn't build the application to do that. We built it mostly as an analytic platform. But it's nice for someone else to come up to you and go, this is another potential use of what you've built. So we are now working with an issuer called Golden Mortgage, and we're collapsing 3 transactions on the platform for them. It's about a $7 million deal, out of which we'll make about 160 grand. So that's pretty nice.
What is collapsing a transaction? Does that mean putting them together?
We take a transaction like this and we find a buyer for the loans, and we pay the trust par for the loans, and we charge the buyer of the loans something above par, like 101, 102. The owner of the transaction gets the proceeds, and they pay us a fee for using our platform.
And also, the way you get the pool data, is it given to you in like a CSV, and then how are you breaking that? There are
like 20 different sites that we scrape, and we grab that data. So on a monthly basis, we're grabbing quite a chunk of data. And then what we do on the back end is we have subroutines that go in and extract the data. We use an OCR for PDFs so that we can transform that to a .csv file and then extract that data out of there.
Is pooling data for, let's just say, like some MBS, is that data public?
Some of it is. What's not public, we don't grab unless we have special permission. Like the transaction we're working on now, that's a private deal. The owner of the most riskiest portion of that transaction gave us permission to scrape the data and then work with the buyer of the loans.
So, are there any predictive cash flow models in here?
That's what I was about to show you right now. So this is the part where the analytics comes together with the data. What they can do from here is basically upload a file. Oh, excuse me. They can upload a file that they've created. One of the feedback we got was, instead of having them go outside of the application to create the .csv file, create a user interface within the application where they can create that directly. So that's something we'll be working on.
That's going to just do the pool runoff as opposed to the securitization structure.
It actually goes to the waterfall too. Yes. Yeah.
The securitization structure in.
Yes. Yes. I'll show you that right now. So I'm going to just use a default forecast for this. This is what the CSV would look like. And then this is where we're all going to get a headache. I think your computer's going to smoke, okay?
It's a quad-core i7, so I'm hoping it'll...
But what it's doing now, it's going through all 700 loans. It's running this forecast in all 700 loans for all 360 months. And then it's aggregating that back up to the different pools. And then it's going to run it through the waterfall structure.
This is a bit of a technical question. Is there any attempt to scrape the legal documents in terms of information about the characteristics about the loans? And is there any way to where you characterize perhaps the source of the data as to its completeness or authenticity, given that these were huge problems in the collapse of the securitization market?
Very good question. We do have an OCR that we use, but we haven't fully mapped the deal documents. We do map the loan level data so we can reference and talk and speak to the loan level data. When we grab the monthly data, we can speak to the authenticity or the accuracy of that data, because when we create a model for the transaction, that is done component-wise, so we can check each level of the cash flow to make sure that that's right. So we do that sort of sanity check on the data, but not on the deal document yet. But good question, yes. So now it's done. And if I go here, this is your question, the waterfall. And so what we've tried to do is sort of group it in a way that makes sense back to the deal documents. This is the waterfall. What you're seeing is the actual pay down of the bonds. And again, the feedback we got from this was too much data at one time. Give me some summary data and then let me dig in. But I think when we were building it, what we were thinking was show that we have the data and we can grab that data as easy as possible and then give you access to it. And then you can go into the bond level details and see the bond level water, the actual cash allocation to each bond. And this is a new feature we've been working on. And basically what we were thinking about here is to completely open source this part of it. Give people the ability to create their own waterfalls. This is still a work in progress, but what I can say in reference to this particular component of the application was we got a lot of interest from BlackRock on this. They really love this part, being able to control the structure, create their own liability structure, and push that into the cloud. They like that a lot. And this is kind of what it looks like if I can get some of this to open up. You can define a bond, put all the parameters that you need for the bond in here, and then once you save it, it'll save. So if I just save that, that bond stores up in there. I can add a principal-only bond. I can create different pools. So we have all the information that you need, and we've mapped it all in there really nicely. And what's really cool about this, it's storing it all as JSON elements. So it's completely auditable. And that's it.
Okay, it's brilliant. It's really impressive, actually. Does anyone have any questions for Samuel?
I want to say I'm very impressed. You were competing with the Intex of the world and
Yes.
whatnot that's 100 times larger. How did you put it together?
3 years of work.
Was it just you for 3 years?
No, we work with Zend. So we have consultants from Zend who come in. Mm-hmm. They audit everything. Everything you've seen here has been audited. They come in and they spend maybe two weeks a month, and they go through the entire architecturing with us every month. And I've got 2 other guys that work with me, again, on a consulting basis. When it's really heavy crunch time, they come in, and then when it's not so heavy, I lay them off. I say, go do something else.
How do you see this evolving, and maybe as Intex and other companies start responding to this over the next few years?
I think the first things that we're going to do, this next iteration that we're going to do, is really change the UI. Make it more summary data. Make it more interactive. Don't crowd the user with so much data at one point in time. Push that data to the back. Let them know it's there. And then what we're hoping to do is in June, start rolling it out to family offices. In reference to Intex and TREP, I think the problem they're going to have is they're going to have to change their business model to really compete with me. I'm cheap. I'm in the cloud. They really have to change their business model to come down to the level where we're trying to operating. But that's a good question.
Very nice. Well,
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Samuel, great product.
Thank you.
I was curious about your challenges in getting this to the market. I know you mentioned BlackRock interest. I see you're still kind of tweaking with the user interface,
Yes.
and possibly you mentioned interesting aspect of how you could evolve this model. I can see some elements of that. What are the biggest challenges for you in getting it out to the market?
Honestly, finance people don't like to change. we really don't. One of our users from a hedge fund on Thursday told us, he's like, I like what you're doing. This is where I need to go, but I'm going to need to back test this for 10 years in terms of what we've done, make sure it works. And we're ready for that, but I think the initial opportunity we see right now is family office that want to get into real assets. And I think that's the low-hanging fruit. That they're not going to spend $2 million for TREP, Intex, and loan performance. They're not. And I think there's an opportunity there for us to grab that market and run with it, and then sort of position ourselves from there.
Great. I look forward to talking with you.
Thank you very much.
Samuel, very impressive. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Very interesting. Very good. Wow, I think that was